It's the Life After High School podcast.
We are rolling. So, Zach, brother, how long you had those tattoos for, dude?
Oh man, first one I got probably 18 years old, so it would have been a good 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
I had a picture up. The first one I got was I got like a yin yang, but two dragons that kind of formed the yin yang. I got it on my back, and I think it was literally just watching Mortal Kombat too much when I was a kid. Do you remember the second Mortal Kombat where they had the I don't know if you remember. There's they had the dragon tattoos, and whenever the guy would die, dragon would fly off. And for whatever reason, as a 10-year-old boy, I just thought that was the coolest thing.
That's it.
So I had this picture of two dragons making a yin yang, probably for 6-7 years, where I just kept going back to it, and then I kept telling my parents, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that when I'm older, because I had an uncle who had a tattoo, but nobody else in my family really did. And then as soon as I turned 18, I went up to the shop and I was just
this is what I want.
Same picture I had gone for years. And then that would have been the first one. Got my second one on my chest probably, I want to say 3 years later.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just open season. It was just
nice.
Whenever I had the money and I had a piece of art that I was oh, I like this, I like the way that looks. It was just let's go.
Right on. They look pretty sick. So I was like, man, I gotta ask him. I gotta find out why before we get into it.
I wish I had a cool story behind them all, but there really wasn't. I was just a bit of a nerdy kid, and I was just I'm gonna get dragons.
It's better though than some people that I've seen lately where they're oh man, they'll get emotional before they talk about it, and then I'm like, oh, man, I have a buddy of mine. He was he's like, dude, my friends call me Big Grizz, and I was because he referred to himself as Grizz, and I was like, okay. Nobody should call anybody that. Why did they call you that? And he's like, oh, because it's a cool name. I'm gonna get a grizzly bear tattoo when I come back, and I'm gonna get one on my ankle. I was like, you're gonna get a tattoo of a grizzly bear
of the nickname you called yourself.
Yeah, the name you and two guys in Australia that one time.
Yeah, weird flex, but all right, man.
All right. I was like, if you're gonna do that, I'll pay for half.
Yeah, that's
amazing. He was like, right on, dude. Right, will you? And I was like, yeah, I never.
Big Grizz.
Yeah, it was too funny. But man, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Man, thanks for having me, man.
I'm really stoked.
I'm happy. I'm the first one in the new setup, so
yeah. Hopefully, it dials in a bit nice, and we can test everything out and see. So I'm excited. But with that, let's get into the thick of it. Take us through kind of your transition from when you left post-secondary school, kind of to how everything came to fruition and where you are now.
Man. Okay, so I graduated 2010, I think, if I remember correctly. I probably should have been paying more attention, but yeah. Graduated, didn't really know what I wanted, and I never, I always did well in high school, marks. You know what I mean? I was a high 80 average, but I honestly just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I kind of just got away with it, because high school is just most of it is all just memory, right? It's not really about intelligence, it's really just about can you memorize these notes? And I had a decent memory for that kind of thing, where I could literally look at stuff the day before, the day of, and then just copy it all down. But then I would forget 90% of it after, right? I just remembered it long enough to be able to score high, and then it was moving on. But with me, it was the only thing that I actually liked in high school, or that I actually did consistently or tried at, was sports.
Right
I was not a good.
I don't blame you, dude.
I was not a good athlete by any means, but I was just I guess just more dedicated than probably a lot of the other guys. Where my mom would usually work late, so let's say I had school would be done at 2:30, practice would end at 4:30. Mm-hmm. My mom would pick me up till 6 because she was working late. But I didn't even mind half the time, because it was I would finish practice, I would stay in the gym, or I would start looking at all these different workouts that I could do. And half the time, dude, no idea what I was doing.
No.
It was just oh, I saw this guy doing this, or I heard running stairs with ankle weights is a good way to get your vert up. So I just started doing these absolutely ridiculous, completely stupid, nonsensical
I'm sure
workouts.
It worked in some way.
To some extent. Don't get me wrong, there was some benefit from it, because you're 16 years old, full of testosterone. You're just anything you do is going to have some kind of benefit. Yeah, but that was the only thing that I knew that I enjoyed out of high school. So getting out of high school, I was okay, well, fuck it. I'm just going to do another year, but I'm going to take a bunch of co-op placements. I basically did I did 2 semesters where I had 3 classes every semester, so I always had one spare, which I would spend in the gym working out or training, or doing even just shooting hoops, or playing volleyball by myself or some shit. And then the other two out of the other 3 classes were a co-op with a gym teacher, or a co-op with a special needs gym teacher. And I was just oh, this is cool. So like when I finished like my returning year, which was basically just like a fluff year for me because I just had no idea what to do, I was like, oh, I'll go in phys ed at like Laurentian. Did 2 years at Laurentian in like the phys ed program, and I absolutely hated it.
Really?
I hated it, dude.
Why?
Dude, I was probably the first university student to have an assigned seat in a phys ed class, okay? Because like, legit, like, I was just...
Well, congratulations on the record.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's not the award I wanted.
It's not the record I wanted,
but like,
what I'll take.
I just, like, to me, like, I wanted to go into it because I was like, oh, I enjoy teaching the kids or, like, doing, like, you know, because I, like, you know, taught martial arts before. I had, like, done a little bit of coaching on the side with, like, some of the younger students when I did my return year. And I was like, yo, this coaching shit is cool. Like, I enjoy this, like, phys ed thing. Mm-hmm. So going into phys ed, I was expecting, like, to do, you know,
that exact thing that made you happy,
And it was literally just, like, sitting at a desk, like, learning about, like, the theory of sport. And I was just... And it's not to like say that that's not important. It just wasn't at all what I wanted or what I was looking for, right? So 2 years into Laurentian, I was just like, yo, fuck this. Like, I'm like, I literally can't even sit down at my desk or stay awake long enough to even pay attention. So I was just like, I'm out. I ended up switching over to Boreal. Or no, sorry, not Boreal, Cameron. I switched over to Cameron. I probably should know that by heart, but switched over to Cameron. I was going to go to Boreal, but the program that they had at Boreal was a 2-year program, whereas the one at Cameron was 3 years. So I was like, okay, well, 3 years, it's an advanced diploma, so technically, like, looks better on paper. Right?
100% it does, yeah.
And I already had, like, 2 years of university, so a bunch of credits transferred over.
Oh, nice.
So I went over to Cameron,
really 3 years.
essentially got it done in like a year and a half.
Let's go.
Right? Year and a half, finished it up, did a placement for like 6 months, but at the end of my year and a half, I had been teaching gymnastics throughout, basically from like my first year university, so I had about 4 or 5 years worth of like gymnastics coaching as like just like a side gig, you know, like my like part-time job during school.
Nice.
And then at the end of that, before I went into like my placement, I got a job, basically personal training over with Steve at Full Tilt Fitness.
Nice.
So that was kind of just how I got into like more of like the personal training aspect of stuff, because I had done like sports training, athletic training, and I had done like teens and shit, but I had never done like legit one-on-one stuff with like adults. You know what I mean? So it was like a totally different world. Got into that, did that for a couple years, and then when like Steve was ready to kind of step away and he wanted to do like, he just kind of, you know, just didn't have the interest in running that kind of business anymore. He had other goals he wanted to pursue. Like, it just kind of worked out well because I just found out I was going to have a kid, so I was just like, well, I needed to take my career further anyways, and this is already what I enjoy doing. Yeah. Basically bought Full Tilt Fitness off of him, along with Andre. I don't know if you have ever
he's coming on the show later this week.
There you go. Yeah, Dr. Dre. Yeah, so me and Dr. Dre teamed up. Dr. Dre teamed up. We bought Full Tilt Fitness, renamed it into like LVX Fitness Studio, just different brand, different vision type of thing, right?
Yeah, start fresh.
And then basically after that is when we, you know, afterwards, over this past year is when I kind of branched out and did my own thing, and then basically merged LVX with Jungle Gym Gymnastics. So now basically the two businesses are kind of merging into one.
Nice, yeah.
While
congratulations.
Still kind of remaining separate entities, but running together at the same time. So
nice. Basically
trying to create the, like, I call it like a movement studio, where like I want anyone who, of any type of discipline, whether it's like a sport, whether you're a weightlifter, a grappler, maybe you're, you know, maybe you're just like, you know, we have like volleyball players right now that are training with us, or maybe you're just somebody who just wants to like generally stay fit and active. I want there to be like a program for you with like the best quality training that you could find in the city.
Nice.
Right? Not necessarily like I'm not going to be like a volleyball coach, but I could train a volleyball athlete to be the best athlete that they could be. I'm not going to be like, I'm not an MMA fighter or an MMA coach, but I could help a guy who's in MMA get better at his sport. Right? So that's kind of the idea and like the vision that we're going with. Same with like with Patty kind of jumping in, and you know, we're doing a lot of like athletic training with my other trainer Joe. He's doing a lot of training with like younger kids, as well as like more of that like, you know, that like athletic development for those like pre-teens and teens, right? So it's, and then
that's cool.
So it's essentially just really trying to create like a hub essentially of movement for like anyone in the city, and then not just for athletes but also for coaches. Like the idea would be eventually that like if you want the best quality coaching that you could find in the city, there would be either, maybe not necessarily out of that space, but I would be able to refer out to different places that would be like, if this is what you're looking for, these are the guys to go see.
Yeah, these are the people I recommend. This is open up your little black book and
then working with them, working with them.
Right, you're not just like shipping over clientele, but because at the end of the day, right, it's a weird thing I found with the fitness industry is they celebrate when employees make X amount of sales, but they don't celebrate when like clients lose X amount or they compete, like to an extent, right? like, yo, we can share this or we congratulate them with that, but there's no like, oh, like we did it, like this is a common goal we're working towards. How do you find that line of, yes, it's still a business, but how do you separate that and focus on the client without the whole idea of like, I'm here to make money?
So with me, it's like I live slightly different in the sense that like I'm very minimalistic.
Yeah.
So like, not to say that money isn't important, because obviously it's huge, but like my definition of what financial freedom is different from maybe the average person, because like I don't need money in the sense of like I need a big fancy place or I need a nice house. Like I don't have furniture in my apartment, not because I can't afford it, because I just don't need it and I don't like it.
Nice.
So I sleep on the floor because it's just less things for me to have to worry about. But that's just, again, like, so when it comes to things like that, like I make choices that are going to be, you know, I don't need financial freedom because I need to pay this like $2,000 mortgage every month, at least not at this point in my life. So a lot of the money that I do make can go back into the business, or a lot of the things that or the decisions I make go back towards the main goal right now, which is like, I need money because like I have a daughter that I'm supporting.
Yes.
So that's like the main priority, but I'm not spending money on big fancy things for myself, or like a nice car, or like, even though like I probably could, it's just not important to me. Like it's not what I really want, and it doesn't truly actually bring me happiness. So when it comes to running the business, it's easier for me to make decisions where it's like, what is best for the client, because I'm not necessarily chasing that bigger payday of like, well, I need this money because I got to pay my mortgage, because it's like, well, if this is going to keep, it's like, if this is going to keep this client around for the next 10, 20 years, and then over time, I'll make that money off of that client by giving them a quality service and giving them continued results. I don't need to make this big giant sale right now to be able to, like, you know, to be able to pay all these bills, or to be able to go off on this trip, because it's like, to me right now, it's like, this is what I'm concerned about. This is what brings me joy and happiness, is building this up and becoming a better service provider, essentially, right? Becoming a better trainer, and then also learning from other guys that are better at what they do than what I am, right? So like, again, with Pat, Pat's an amazing weightlifter.
Very good.
So I love working with Pat because I can learn something from him every time that we train together. Right? And vice versa, I think, is like how our relationship kind of started, was like he could kind of see some of the things that I would do and be like, oh, I see there's value in that. Maybe not necessarily for every one of my clients, but there's value in that for certain people, just like I saw the same with him, right?
Right.
So again, instead of having to chase this paycheck of like what's going to make the most money immediately right now, it's like what's going to help me provide a better service, and then once I have a better service, the money will come.
Interesting. You're not chasing it right away.
Yeah, it's like I have now. It's like, and I also feel very confident that like when I give people a price, or when I charge a certain amount for a service, I'm 100% confident that that is what that service is worth. Yeah. Right? Because if I look back, like the people that I've offered that service to have stuck around and have seen the results, so I know that it works. Right. So then there's not this like, I don't have to try to like sell people on it necessarily, you know what I mean? Like I need to get people into the door, but then once they get into the door, it's like I can be honest with them and give them what they actually need, and then, you know, it just becomes a question of like, do you listen and you want to take this advice, and then if you do, you'll see the benefit. And if people don't necessarily like what they're being told or like what they're hearing, unfortunately, it's like, I can't help you anyways. Right. Like I had this conversation with like some of my other trainers, but like personal training is like, it's personal. If I can't make a connection with my client, I can't help you. Right? Yeah. It's like when you try to tell a family member, like, you know, any type of advice for like anything in life, right?
Anything
like,
ever,
especially if it's something in your field. Like, if I have a family member ask me like, oh, like, how do I lose weight? Or like half the time it's like, you don't have this relationship with me as like a trainer that you trust. You have this relationship of like, I'm your cousin or your nephew, or I'm like your son or your brother. So it's just like, you're not going to listen to my advice half the time, because it's like in your head, the relationship is I'm just a family member.
Yeah, I'm not providing a service,
right? Whereas like I need to build that relationship with a client where they trust me as not just a person, but they trust me like as their trainer, and that comes through practice and giving people the results that they're looking for, or being honest with people so that they have a better expectation of, you know, what to actually expect. And then, like I said, as the service gets better, then I'm fully confident that I'll be able to, if I say I can help someone, it's because I know I can help that person. Right. If we build a relationship where they trust me and I give them, you know, the information, I give them the guidance that they need, because I can't do anything for anyone. No, I can just try to nudge them in the right direction, and hopefully I nudge them in the direction that gets them there quicker. Right. But they still need to do the work, right? Like,
and I guess that's something that a lot of people kind of are used to nowadays. It seems they look for a very simple solution to a very hard, or not as simple, but easy, because it is simple, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're like, oh, work hard. Yeah. Simple, right? It's very
simple in concept, difficult to execute.
I love that. Yeah, very difficult in execution. And I think with that, bring it to the movement side of that. Movement strikes me when people say it. It's same thing, not this bad, but as the word entrepreneur. So, close friends of mine will know this is, like, it kind of rubs me the wrong way because it almost feels like a trendy word, like it's glorified. So, with that and everybody using movement and get fit and get moving, you know, and how important it is. I've talked to a handful of people about how important it is, like experts on it, and I'm wondering what, from your opinion, are some common misconceptions of when people think of movement.
So
if that makes sense.
Yeah, correct me if I'm like going off and like not exactly what you're like looking to kind of get an answer to, but like I think when it comes to that is like, I think the big issue that a lot of people have in like, well, I'll call it the fitness industry, but it's a lot of times right now it's becoming like the movement industry.
Yeah, that's kind of
where people are kind of like, oh, you got to move. The thing is like, what people don't necessarily realize is like, you could switch up your workouts every day if you wanted to, but if you're still always kind of just cycling through the same patterns, you're not really practicing movement. You're just developing a skill of exercise, which is different, right? Like, so you're in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Okay? So
full time.
Right? 100%. And there's a lot of movements involved in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. There's huge amounts of movements, right? Like massive amounts of patterns. There's, you know, different, like, you have to adjust on the fly, which is why it's such an interesting sport. Any type of fighting sport is so interesting, and that's what got me interested in the first place.
Like that type of combat stuff is very unique because there's that extra element you can't control, which is another person.
Yeah. And it's like, you can know how to throw a cross. But can you throw a cross if a guy's hands are in the way? Can you throw a cross if you have to step out of the way or if you have to slide back?
You go moving forward.
So you have one technique that you might necessarily, like, there's an unlimited way of actually throwing or having to time that technique, even though it's one punch. Now add in thousands of others, like, techniques that you could learn from, like, martial arts, becomes this puzzle that's unreal, right?
Yeah, it's countless.
But if I take that same example, like, if I'm practicing, like, my straight right, like, you know, for, let's say me, it's like my power shot, my straight right. If I'm always practicing, but I'm always practicing against the same heavy bag or against the same pad holder from the same angle, from the same setup, am I really practicing movement at that point, or am I just refining one particular strike?
Right.
I'm really just refining one particular strike, which is a straight right from a loaded position, from a straight standing position, feet are grounded.
Yeah, nobody's hitting back.
That's not going to necessarily apply. Am I still going to have a good straight right if I slide back and hit? Yeah. Probably. But is it going to be as effective? Am I going to be as accurate? Probably not, right? And with that same thing, it's essentially the same idea with movement. It's like people will be like, oh, I did like all these cool different workouts. And it's like, well, you ran, you did burpees, you did some variation of like a half-assed like Olympic lift, because like that's a big trendy thing with like CrossFit right now. Yeah. And it's not to bash CrossFit, because there's amazing athletes that do CrossFit. It's just there's a lot of people that go into it thinking that that's just what it's about. Right. Right? Like, you've done pull-ups, but maybe they're not done necessarily properly, or you only really ever kipping, do. And there's nothing wrong with a kipping pull-up, but if it's the only type of pull-up that you're ever going to work on, right? Like, have you really worked on your movement, or have you just worked on like a base set of skills and patterns that you've refined over time? And even though you switch and you rotate your workouts around, at the end of the day, if I really took account of like what you've done over the past year, you've still done the same pull-ups, the same run, you've done the same movement, maybe the same trail, maybe you've done the same, maybe you increased the weight on certain exercises, but it was the same pattern. So have you really worked on movement, or have you worked on refining a set of skills that is specific to what your goal is? And that's okay, right? Like, for a fighter, is it okay to practice your straight right over and over again? Yeah, you're going to need to throw it.
100%.
But if you're trying to be...
Especially if it's a weakness.
Exactly. Right? But if you're trying to be like an MMA fighter who also needs to learn how to grapple, if you've only ever practiced your straight right, it's not going to help you if your goal is to become a mixed martial artist. It'll help you if you're trying to become a better striker. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like the same, like, not necessarily a misconception, but it's something that people miss a lot, where it's just like, just because you've done different workouts or you did them in a different order doesn't mean that you've practiced a movement. Practicing a movement, or practicing movement in general, is completely switching out of what your element is. Like, so if you're a gymnast, doing some weights is going to be practicing movement, because it's completely different patterns. But if I only did the two, if I only do the two for, there's a point of diminishing return.
Right.
If I practice gymnastics and weightlifting for so long, after 2-3 years, what am I really learning about my movement pattern that is potentially different?
Yeah.
Right. So maybe then I have to learn how to throw a kick. Maybe I learn how to throw a punch. Maybe I learn how to roll. Now I'm developing new patterns and new skills. That's practicing movement, right? It's not just switching between I did the same gymnastics skills and then did the same weightlifting skills, but I upped the weight, so I'm practicing movement.
But because I'm moving,
you're practicing weightlifting and you're practicing gymnastics. Do you see what I mean? So it becomes and it's very hard to strike a balance.
That makes sense.
I think the big and it was an issue I did a lot too. It was people try to do all of it at the same time, where then you're actually not improving at anything. Because if you're going to practice jujitsu, if you want to get better at, you were saying you were doing taking someone's back, right?
Yeah.
You were practicing taking someone's back yesterday. Okay, well, how many times do you have to practice taking someone's back before you get to a point where there's only so many more times there's only so many other things you'll be able to improve about it.
Right.
Right? Now, you can keep practicing that same take, but you might only get a little bit better. But is that going to be like in an actual fight?
Yeah.
Is the fact that you practice an extra 100 reps of a back take going to be that much of a difference versus if you practice a different technique?
Yeah, and it's more so, I find with that, specifically that example too, it's like you said, we go a few times from this one, okay, we got it comfortable there, switch up to a different position.
Yeah.
It was kind of like turtle from the side, turtle from the other side, turtle from the back, turtle from the front, and we're going how to back take from here. And it's almost situational rolling, we call it, where it's okay, you're on your back, I'm in your closed guard, you have to stand up, sweep, or submit, I have to pass or submit. And we say go, and then we go until one of those things happen, and then you play it from there, and then those are more what we do, but it's okay, we have X amount of ways to get out of the closed guard, X sweeps, X submissions, but it's when the bullets fly, when the cage door closes, when the referee says fight, and you guys go, that's when I found a lot of things that you repeat in the movement patterns, or the patterns that you repeat as a lot. Exactly, right? That's when the second nature, or people are what do you default, the fight or flight?
Yeah. And especially when you get tired.
Dude, exclusively when you get tired. And that's a perfect example, right? Because that's something that's when you get tired, you get lazy. Now you resort to whatever you don't have to think about because your brain's fried. Yeah. Right? Because adrenaline is exhausting. It fatigues you. And when you're fatigued, like you said, you're tired and brain shuts off. What do I not have to do? How can I be as effective without thinking about anything? Yeah. Going back to those patterns that you rehearsed 100 times in those situations.
So then that becomes your default, right? And that's where so what you're saying, where you're practicing these, you're practicing a back take, but from all these different angles of different positions. That is essentially, okay, you have the one technique, but how do you apply it from all these different ways? That's playing around with an idea. That's playing around with a technique or with an actual skill, right? So if I take parkour, if you know what parkour is, right? Okay, so a simple, I'll say simple, but a parkour move you might see a guy make is a running front tuck or a Webster flip, which is basically you run off the one foot, you swing the other leg back, you do a front flip. Okay. So you could do it. I could do it standing on the spot, swing the leg up, front flip out of it. Boom. That's one way. I could do it running forward or stepping forward. Boom. I could do it on a back pedal, swing it right, or I could do it off a ledge. I have one technique or I have one movement pattern, but I can play around with how I execute it. Maybe I jump sideways with it. Maybe I land, or maybe I've seen a bunch of different variations where guys are I've seen one guy fucking dunk a cookie while he was midair. You know what I mean? He literally dips his cookie in a glass of milk. That's a level of expertise of a movement pattern that is so beyond what most guys will ever do. But that is that's practicing movement. Is you learn to skill, you have to struggle through the part of figuring out how to even pull it off. Then you get to a point where you're starting to refine it and becomes easier, muscle memory starts to set in, and then you get to a level of mastery where it's just how far can you really push this one pattern to make it into this crazy thing where most people will never be able to reach in their lives, right? That's what practicing a movement is. But now that's one particular movement. If you're going to claim that you are practicing your movement, or if your goal is to practice movement in general, you can't get to a level of mastery with everything.
No.
You're going to have to learn some new shit, and you're going to have to get to that stage where you're basically a beginner very frequently.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that you can't go on and master shit. It's just that you just can't say that, like, I'm focusing on one aspect of my game or one element of fitness or movement, and I'm claiming I'm practicing movement. No, you're practicing a movement. And that's where the mix-up gets, I think. And again, it's not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
It's just like you said, people use that term, or like, oh, I'm like, I like my movement practice, my movement practice, because it's like the new thing. But it's like, are you practicing movement, or did you like learn a new skill, and now you're just refining a skill? That's not the same thing, right?
Interesting. And now you said something fascinating a couple seconds ago about, and I want to come back to that. What do you think the reason is for what you said when you said people often never get to that level of mastery with anything? Why often do you think that is the case?
A couple reasons. Like the biggest one, if I had, like, for everyone across the board, is like, if you don't get to that level of mastery, or not necessarily that you can't, you haven't spent the time.
Right.
I think the reason why you haven't spent the time is what is really more important, right? Like, did I not, like, I could do a Webster flip. I can't dunk a cookie in a fucking glass of milk while I'm doing it. Now, is that because, right, yeah, obviously I haven't spent enough time practicing that specific skill. For sure. Why haven't I? It could be, maybe I have other priorities. Maybe I'm working on different things. Maybe I have
all of which
focused,
are probably the case.
Right?
Yeah.
And it could be a combination of it. It could be none. It could be one. Or maybe somebody just doesn't give a fuck and doesn't want to learn how to do that. Like, and that's totally fine. It's like your own preference, right? Like, if you are that guy who's like, you know what, I'm going to dunk 2 cookies next time. I'm going to one up this thing that I saw somebody do. It's like, then cool. Then you're going to have to put in the time, put in the effort, put in the hours. But like, it's okay to not want to do everything, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to not want to become a master at any one particular thing. I'm like that. Like, I get very bored of training the same shit over and over again. Yeah. So I dabble a lot, right? I'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I kind of switch around. I'll always have like similar goals that I'm always working towards, and like that's what I structure my programs around. But I try not to just be like, I'm going to become an expert at this one thing. Because I get bored. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, that's a personality trait. That's
exactly.
But not a problem. That's just, you're
just
like, nah, you just switch it up. Basically.
Exactly. But I just can't claim that I'm like I'm some expert parkour guy. I'm not. I've dabbled with it. I've played around with it a little bit. But I'm by no means an expert. Just like I'm no means like an expert, like, you know, weightlifter. Like, I dabbled in it.
Yeah.
Played around with it. I understand the basics of it. I put in some time and some practice. But like, it's a different thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it really just depends on like, what is your goal and why are you chasing it?
So with that being said, I heard a rumor that you're on a short list for to be cast in the next Avengers movie. Is that true, dude? I saw a bunch of videos of you doing some flips and stuff, and I was like, oh.
If I am aware,
so then I had to ask.
If that is a thing, I'm not aware, but like, holla at your boy. You know?
Get at your boy.
Yeah. Like, man, 100% I'd be an Avenger. I don't know which one. I'll be Black Widow. She's suing Disney right now. Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney apparently. I will 100% be Black Widow if that means if I get some of that Marvel money. Like 100%. You need me to tase some dudes and I gotta sit there in a sexy red wig? Like, bruh. Zero hesitation. None.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
Alright. So, switching gears a bit to the business side of it, what are some challenges that you faced when it came to starting a business? Starting? Yeah. And kind of getting your feet in the door.
Man, it's weird because like if I want to think it, like I've essentially started over the past 5 years. It's like I've almost kind of restarted like 3 different businesses, right? So the first time I started a business was basically just like by myself as a personal trainer. So I had to go out, look for clients, and then like, it kind of goes back to what I talked about. Like my service and my quality had to be there for me to attract other people. Because especially when you're starting off and like, I mean, we've talked about this before, but like I'm not a social media person. I fucking hate social media.
Yeah, I know it's, man.
I hate it.
Hard to find.
I just don't like it, man. I just don't like it. It's just like...
But you're good on it, dude. Like, your videos are good. They're funny. They're clever.
I have fun, but like it's like...
you'd be so good at it, too.
I will make videos for fun and for jokes, but like I don't like scrolling on social media. I don't like posting on social media. I don't like waiting for people's responses or like waiting for likes. It's just like I just have no interest in it, right? And there's also like I know myself enough that like I don't want to end up like falling into this hole where I'm like relying on other people's approval. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm doing my own thing anyways.
Probably smart.
I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. I don't need all this external validation. That's why like, you know, like I just don't like social media. It's like that's why I haven't used them. Yeah. It's just like I'm good doing this shit. I don't need these other distractions. I'm already distracted enough, man. I'm ADD as fuck. You know what I mean? Like I don't need 3 other like social medias to be like, do people like me? Are people liking my video? Are they commenting? Like,
why is last week this many?
Yeah, I don't.
You're right.
You know
There's
what I mean?
a rabbit hole you get down.
I do what I enjoy, and I'll do it when I want to do it because it's for me. I'm not doing it because of like other people. And if I want to make a joke video because it's like an ad for some random bullshit, and I'm dancing around like an idiot, and it makes people laugh, and I enjoy doing it, cool. But it's not something where like I want to be like held where it's like, hey, where's the next video? Hey, where's that next clip? Maybe at some point in my life, I'll hit enough goals or I'll reach a level where I'm like, hey, now I can and I want to focus on this aspect. Sure, but for right now, I'm just like, it just doesn't interest me, right?
Interesting.
But like, it's just
cool.
It's just again, I'm very minimalistic. Where like, that's just more distractions for me, right? Like, it was kind of jokes. Like, I hate shopping too because like I just don't like buying.
I don't blame you, man. It's
so like. I was I had to step out of work. I had like a gap in my schedule, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna run over. I gotta go grab some shit. And like, I literally like I go shopping like once every 2 years, and I buy the same thing every time, right? Like it's like I just like you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. Like
100%.
You know what I mean? Like
people like that, dude.
And it was just jokes because it was like I stepped out, and then like someone was looking for me, and they were like, oh, he just like he had to go pick some shit up. Like he went like clothes shopping, which is like something I never do. And he was like, oh, he's probably just gonna come back and like have one of those like 3 for $30 deals from Boathouse. 100%. And like I literally I walk into with a Boathouse bag and 3 t-shirts, and I was just like, yeah, man, nailed it. Like
$30.
Yeah, $30 like on the spot. I was but it was just like I was gone for maybe 20 minutes because it's like it took me longer to get to the mall than it did to actually get any shopping. You know what I mean? It was just like done deal. I'm out of here, right?
All the same color?
100%.
100%. Nice.
Yeah.
Can't get distracted by choice, dude.
Exactly. But now it's like I wake up in the morning, I put my sweatpants on, I know it's going to be a white or a black t-shirt. That's it. Like that's
a good point. I have never seen you in like the few times we've interacted, I've never seen you in not a white t-shirt.
I have white or black, and it's because like I wear them at work.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about if I'm matching my fucking sweatpants or if I'm like, you know what I mean? Like
white and black goes everything.
White and black t-shirt goes with anything. So like I'll mix up the shirt, like I'll mix up the pants. Maybe I'll get some colored some colored sweatpants, or I'll get like some flashy jeans or some shit.
Funky for sure.
But it's like a white or black t-shirt. Why? Because like I don't have to worry about it. I wake up in the morning, I put my pants on, I grab whatever fucking shirt is at the top of the pile, and I just throw it on, and I'm like, boom, I'm ready to go. Start my day. I don't need to spend 10 minutes trying to figure out like, do I have the right socks? Do I like? It's all the same. It's all the same.
Crazy.
Again, it's just like, but that's just what I enjoy doing. It's not that that's a better way, or it's just what I do that works for me, right?
And I think if with that mindset, it's fascinating, dude. Because check this out. A couple months ago, there was like a thing with the business that we had going on, and I'm not going to get into specifics, obviously, but maybe after, but. Basically, things weren't going ideal for the situation, just with past things we had done or not done, and basically there was a lot of stress. There was going on. We were doing like finished carpentry, and our heads were just not there, which is not good when you need to be as precise as we need to be for the job we were doing, right? And so with that, I was like, I need a big thing, and I found myself always comparing and, like you said, getting down the rabbit hole of why didn't this person, why are they liking it so late? I deleted Instagram off my phone. I deleted Facebook off my phone. I had TikTok, but I deleted that. But I was just like, this is stupid. So I just deleted all of them, so I couldn't go down. Kept Snapchat, but I don't use it. It's just for people in Ottawa I talk to. And then I was like, okay, if I get rid of all this, I'm good. 10 minutes after deleting them, I'd go open my social media folder. I'd go open the folder, and I went and I pushed the screen where Instagram was, and it wasn't there. And I was like, what's going on?
And then you're like, oh shit.
Oh, this is bad. I just opened my phone with the specific,
pure instinct,
going right here with it, right? Like pure instinct, like you said. And I'm like, can't do that. I've never felt better. Because I don't want, like you said, like you can get into a browse space where you're just like, oh man, it's like, well, this person's on this boat doing that with them, and you're just sitting in your living room.
How come I didn't get invited?
It's like, that's what people, that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, man, like that, for mental health specifically, that is huge. And I was like, and I've told people in the past, told my buddy Connor a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, just delete it off your phone. Or if you don't do that, turn off your phone for, there's this really interesting Jewish practice that's 24/6, I think is what they call it. Okay. It's basically...
Is that how they make so much money all the time?
That might be it.
We figured it out.
Well, when I tell you, you'll be like, oh yeah. So, excuse me. They do 24/6, where they disconnect from Friday evening to Saturday evening. And by disconnect, they turn off all their phones, everything, no TV, no electronics, nothing. They just kind of spend time with the people that they care about. They don't contact or connect anybody or connect with anybody.
Aside from who's right there.
Exactly. And so that's kind of the whole process of hearing that when I was listening to this like show a while ago, and I was like, that is fascinating. And it's the guy who like did the study. He's not Jewish, but he did the study, and he said after he did it, he felt, less, because stress is like situational, I think.
A lot of it,
but anxiety is just, I can come and go. You know, you're running a little behind work, anxiety. You know, there's construction, there's traffic, somebody's late, you're late, it's anxiety. I'm ripping my hair out. Stress is situational, I think, if you compare the two. But with that being said, it was people get stressed out, I'll get stressed out for things, but the anxiety was way less frequent when I did that. And
just felt like clearer minded.
Yeah, and it was an overall like, open my phone, I'm like, well, I have no real reason. And then I just like, oh, it's there. And then it's like Facebook, I go on my computer, and then I can message people.
Yeah,
right?
You gotta go out of your way for
and it's like, it makes it more purpose-driven. And it's like, okay, I want to get Zach on the show. I know he doesn't have Instagram. I don't want to have to download Instagram anyway to do it. Boom, okay. Facebook, boom, done. Easy. That's how you... And then it's like, well, I'm not just scrolling. I'm not like, I see this person. Because I found it gives me more confidence to ask people to come on the show. Where I'm not like, I'm browsing, watching what celebrities fighting, pro fighter, because nobody cares. And then going through, and then it's like, now I feel like crap. I'm not going to ask them. And that's not productive.
You get like sucked into that
it's bad.
Yeah, it's a weird like mindset. And like coming back to like the whole like business thing, like some of the, because we totally went off on a tangent, but like, and I love it.
100%.
Like, my whole life is a tangent, but like, I found like with that, because that's just like my personality is like I don't like that type of stuff. For me to build up a reputation as a trainer was very much based off of like, because I wasn't doing these Instagrams or these Facebook posts. It was very much like, did I help this person or did I not? And did they tell their friends about it?
Mm-hmm.
So it really was like word of mouth.
Yeah.
For the good, I want to say the first like year, 2 years was just 100% like, was I doing a good enough job that people wanted to tell their friends or family about? Wow. That's how I built it up, right? Now, obviously, as you get, in a way, but like, it's just, as I got further into it, and then it became where like, I was like, okay, well, now I'm buying Full Total Fitness, so I'm going to rebrand it.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm going to have to learn how to use these social medias, which is when I started using Facebook and Instagram a little bit more, because I was like, I'm not good at this shit, but I need to do some level of advertisement.
Right.
I need to at least, I need to treat it like a business, not just Zach Sivret as personal training. I need it to be like, I want to expand this. So the business needs to have a brand, not just me.
The general population needs to know.
Right. So the general population needs to know, like, I don't give a shit if you know who I am, but I want you to know what my business is.
Right,
I want you to know what I provide, or what like the other trainers that I work with provide, right? And then moving up even a further level now with Jungle Gym, where it's like now I have people of all ages. I got toddlers coming in versus people that are like 67 years old that are coming for personal training. So there's a huge market. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, I need people that have no idea who I am. Like most people that go to that gym for their kids, they don't know who the fuck I am.
Right, they're not going for you.
They don't care. It doesn't matter. But they need to know that the gym is going to supply them the best service that they can get for their kids. Yeah. Or is a safe place for their kids, or is a fun environment for their kids. Yeah. So then it becomes more like as like the business has evolved, like I've had to develop my ability to use things for business specifically, which as a consequence, it's like, I have more time on Facebook now, but I do the best I can to limit it where it's just work. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not there posting videos on my weekend or talking about like whatever, or I'm not trying to like have these big like discussions on Facebook. Like, it's just, here's what I'm offering. Here's my services. Here's an ad. Here's or maybe not an ad, but like a post about like certain things that we got coming up, and then it's like, I'm out. Disconnect. You like it, you don't like it. If somebody asks me a question on it, I'll respond to it. But like, I'm not sitting around waiting for people. Like, how many likes did my video get? How many did people share my thing? It's like, if you show up, you show up. Because at the end of the day, once I get people in the door, I'm confident that they're going to want to come back and they're going to want to tell people, right? So it becomes more of that, like, I'll make sure that my quality is always there. But the biggest challenges for me has been learning how to use that shit. Because like I said, it was so against what I normally want to do. Yeah. Right? Whereas like, I know I can offer someone a good service, but if somebody doesn't know me or doesn't know the person that I'm training, how am I going to help that person? Yeah. How am I going to reach out to that person to let them know that like, hey, maybe you're having a struggle with this, or maybe you're having a hard time with this, but like, I can help you. Well, if they don't know me, if they don't know the people I'm training, I need a way to reach them, which is where like a lot of the social media and the more like marketing aspects of things came in handy, where I had to learn. Because I just didn't know, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I'm still not very good at it, but at least it's like, it's something I'm continuously trying to get better at, so that I can reach a wider group of people to give them the help. Because at the end of the day, like, I got into this industry because I wanted to help people. Yeah, right? That was it.
Makes sense.
And I do it in a way of like, not that it's not to make like, I hate when people say that, where they're just like, I do this to help people. I'm like, yeah, I do it to help people, but it's because I feel good about myself 100%. When I do it. It's like, there is an egotistical thing about it, where it's just like, yeah.
Why is that an egotistical thing?
Egotistical, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way, but like in a way where it's like, I feel better about myself when I know that I'm able to help someone.
100%, you should.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing to feel, to have like a little shot to the, like, or a little boost to the ego where it's like, oh man, like, you were trying to see some people, nobody could figure out what was wrong, or nobody could help you, and like, I got you walking again. Like, that makes me feel good. So there's definitely like, for me, myself, like, that's like a motivational drive. But it's like, I'm not doing it because I'm like this like saint and I'm just like, I just want to help the world and heal the world. I'm like, no, man, like, I feel good when my knowledge and my experience helps somebody else, because it makes it like reinforces that like I'm doing something right. Right. So it's like, there's like a little, like a shot to maybe not necessarily a shot, but it's like, it makes me feel better about what I'm doing. It makes me feel good about the shit that I'm doing. But at the same time, it helps that person. Right. Right. So it's you know, it's a give and take. Like.
Right. And it's a feel good thing that I think if we come back to it, and with the social media part that you mentioned, it's a feel good with a. It must also feel a bit better too when somebody had you, or a past client had you, and they recommended you, and then you solved the problem.
Oh, big time!
Right, like that might be a little. Sure. It's like, oh, they didn't just read up on you because they couldn't figure out. They're like, hey, so we know this guy. He can flip, not while dunking milk, but like you can do it.
But like it's definitely like I mean, look, like it's like if I use Pat again as like an example, or even for you, like when you're training jiu-jitsu and you've practiced something over and over and over again, and then you manage to pull it off in a match, it feels good because it's like validation that like what I'm doing is good. It's working to some extent. Maybe I'll have to change things or whatever, but like maybe I'll grow and I'll realize later on that I'm still making mistakes now. Yeah. But at least I'm on the right path, and I'm improving, I'm excelling, or I'm getting better at what I do. So there's like this joy where you're like, oh, okay, like the hard shit and the stressful stuff was worth it. Yeah. Right? And I think like when it comes to like movement, that's what it's all about. Like you're constantly having to figure out what you're doing wrong, which is what's stopping you from achieving that technique, or from achieving that goal, or 100%. From getting stronger, getting more fit, or whatever your goal might be, losing weight. Like, what are you doing wrong that is preventing you from achieving it? Right. Being like a quote unquote like entrepreneur is essentially the same idea. It's just the risk and the consequences are different. Right? Oh yeah. If you're training jiu-jitsu, it's like, if you fucked up, you might get choked out. If you fucked up, you might get hurt. You might hurt the other person when you're not intending to. So there's more of like a physical risk to it. Being an entrepreneur, or being a business owner, or even just trying to do anything that's like, you know, not necessarily like a where there's no necessarily like there's not like a plan or a guideline just laid out for you. Like, the consequences are different, right? Like, the consequences for me fucking up are potentially losing a client, potentially ruining a program, potentially reputation, potentially not being able to pay bills. So I think like even though like the process is very similar to like learning a movement or learning any type of physical skill is very similar to like running a business, because there's a lot of it where you start at zero. Nobody starts a business and has all the answers.
Never, dude.
Right? You're going to fail.
Right. Like and you're never going to have all the answers anyway.
Exactly. And like I said, over the past 5 years, I've technically had to like kind of restart like 3 times. right? So like in some way and in some sense, like there are things that I've done that have failed because I don't still do them because it like I tried something, it didn't work, it didn't give me the results I needed or what I was looking for, so I had to reassess, right? You're going to fail, just like when you're practicing a movement, you're going to fail until you figure it out and it gets better, and then you move on from it. It's the same thing with running a business. Or very similar. It's just that the consequences are different, right?
Right. Dude.
Most people just don't. The same reason they don't get into like a fitness or they don't start doing jiu-jitsu is the same reason they don't necessarily want to follow that real goal. They're scared of failing,
fear.
Right?
There's a fear for sure. And dude, I'm still getting my ass kicked. Now, I have this good story for you. So check this out on that point you made, where with going through a technique and like you drill the hell out of it because that's what you're doing essentially, right? You're drilling the technique, you're repping it out. So, June of 2019 or July 2019, doesn't matter. I was in a jiu-jitsu tournament. It was in Sudbury, so nice and easy jiu-jitsu tournament. It was a gold medal match, and I was gassing out. This guy was gassing out, but he was just like really strong, and he managed to get me. He got me with a Kimura and he beat me. So I was a little disappointed. Yeah. So I was pretty pissed. But I went in the span of the next 3 or 4 months, every second morning during the week, so Tuesday, Thursday morning for about 2-3 months, I would just go and just drill triangles. Just only triangles off my back. As soon as I get taken down, like situational, like somebody takes me down, live, everything. Just triangle, triangle, triangle. T-City all day. So I was like, okay, this is what's happening. We go to a tournament in North Bay. in the Sioux. And they're all the same though, right? Yeah. And so...
a lot of the same guys.
So we go in the Sioux, and they're like, okay, they're like, they have the list posted, the order of the matches. I look and I'm like, okay, well, if we're up, crap, I'm up first. So there's a gymnasium packed with people. I'm up first, and there's nobody at the same time. So unfortunately, it was just me again, and I was like, "Oh, who's this guy? This guy looks familiar. Where have I seen before?" It's the guy who beat me for the gold first match of the tournament.
This is the guy you already lost to.
But he submitted me, and I was like, "Ah, I have every reason to lose this."
Yeah.
We slap hands, bump fists. Ref says fight. We go, and he like goes for a takedown, but I beat him and I pulled guard on him because I knew he's very they're very wrestling heavy, and so I was like, okay, but wrestlers have a very hard tendency of going head forward into things. So I was like, okay, I know this. I grabbed his lapel, grabbed his his wrist on his gi, and I turned my hip sideways. I'm used to people fighting it here because they know what I'm about to. I'm like, oh, he doesn't know. I bump out. I take my shin. I break his grip on my hip. Yeah. Whip my leg around, turn my hips, bring his head down into the triangle, and I go under just to turn it, just underneath the leg. It's this really weird manipulation of the angle that just cinches everything up like that. It's so uncomfortable. And I got him, and I was in a minute, I was like, what the fuck? We did it. You just see it pay off. Everyone all be like, oh, this is it. And I was like, I had every reason to lose. But the point of that is going back to always trying to improve and drill a skill, know where you can get better, and just keep doing it there, right? Learning from your mistakes and facing your fear, because it's wow, the guy has a win on you already, or oh, we did this mistake before, and then you just go from there and you live and learn, I guess.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's wild how I take it even with some of the younger athletes and stuff, where if I'm coaching a young kid that maybe doesn't necessarily have all this life experience to be able to understand how to life's a bitch, man. It's so shit bad. Happens that you do not have control over, right?
All the time.
And we can get into that later, but about shit that's happened to me where it's just I was not ready for this shit at all.
Yeah, we'll cut to it next,
right? Yeah. But it's a big thing if I can use sport or if I can use training or some type of practice to help a young kid understand that it takes effort, that they're going to fail, but then also how to keep a better mindset moving forward. Those lessons, they get applied throughout your whole life.
Right.
So it's I don't necessarily want to think of it as And it's not to try to make it seem like, like coaches or trainers are doing more than necessarily they really are, to make it seem like it's this big, super important thing. But there is an importance to the level of like, you're creating a better human, but you're trying to create a better human, but you're just using sport or activity or movement as the tool to teach them the lessons.
Interesting, yeah.
Right? Like,
that's a good
through jiu-jitsu, like you said, like we've talked about, like a lot of guys that do jiu-jitsu or fight are some of the calmest people you'll ever meet, because they know that they could fucking wreck you.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Right? But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't need to be all out there yelling and screaming and doing all, like, hollering all this shit and talking all this trash if I know and if I'm confident that I'll be able to destroy someone. Like, if I'm not confident in a situation, they're typically not always, like, not always, but most guys that roll
more
and do all this shit, they're pretty chill dudes.
Yeah, very quiet to themselves.
They don't
nerdy.
Because they're studying it, right?
Yeah, their brain's kind of consumed in that kind of stuff, right?
And a lot of that comes from, or part of that at least, comes from, like, there's obviously a personality type where, like, you have to be willing to do that type of thing. Yeah. But at the same time, like, when you get beat over and over and over again, there's also a level of humility where you're like, maybe I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
So that also applies to the real life, where, like, in any other situation where you're like, I might be wrong. I could be really confident that I know what I'm doing or that I'll be able to overcome this. But there's always the possibility that I'm wrong, or some unexpected, unpredictable factors that will come in and totally fuck my shit.
Yeah.
Like some dude
all the time
snatching a Kimura for your gold medal match. Like, you don't necessarily, but it happens, right? Like,
it does. It's brutal.
But being able to, but knowing and being able to, like,
about it.
Being confident in yourself that, like, if I keep working at this, I will get better and I will be able to overcome this. Like, for me, the easiest way and best way to learn that is through sport or activity. And that's where, like, movement practice comes in. It's like learning something new all the time and kind of always reminding yourself that, like, no matter how good you are at one thing, there's 1,000 other things that you have no idea how to do. Is like, it's very humbling, but it's also a good thing, because when you've overcome that hurdle again, there's a confidence that comes from it, but also humility that comes from it, because it's like, damn, like, I managed to do it. But there's guys dunking cookies and milk jars right now, like, so it's like, as much as, like, I've accomplished a lot, there's still way more for me to be able to accomplish with this, right? So there's, like, a level of, like, there's, for younger kids anyways, or when you're coaching people, a lot of times, like, you can get into these deeper, these deeper issues that some people might be facing by using that sport or that movement as kind of like the tool to kind of not necessarily deal with it or cope with it, but to address it in slightly different ways, right? Which is, like, that's the fun part for me, is, like, being able to, like, if I have somebody who, like, I can't make anyone do anything, but if I can nudge them in a direction and then they come back and they're like, man, my whole life feels better. And it's because, like, part of it is because I managed to start getting my shit together and, like, I managed to help even just a little bit with that. It's like, man, like,
that's it.
Mission accomplished.
Like, mission accomplished for
right?
sure.
Now let's set the next goal and let's see if we can get there.
Work towards
so
it. Nice. That's such a good way of looking at it. And there's a lot of things that, with how everything is I was listening to the show where this guy was kind of explaining it, and I really like the way he explained it, but he's like, I don't talk about, like, he was like, I don't talk about archery when I'm doing this. I don't talk about this. I don't talk about this. When he was doing, like, when he does his stand-up or whatever, right? Yeah. And he said something about, if you're always learning or you're always finding things to be beginners at, you keep yourself humble, you keep that skill, or you keep that ability to learn fresh, because that is a skill, and that's a tool, and you keep that, like, sharp, where you're like, okay, I'm always trying to learn, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to have, like, more people on the show, different people, trying to, like, understand how people do things, like, different equipment, how different things work, right? And trying to find a way to be a beginner at things, but still try to master things you want. Like, you can have 50, like, hobbies, do whatever you want, but if you have, like, 2 or 3 things that you're like, okay, these are what I'm going to be good at. Excuse me. I think by finding those things and trying to achieve mastery, but then being beginners at a lot of things, makes it so much easier to go through the difficult times in life, as you're mentioning.
Huge.
Right? And now with that, when you said that, what is an example of something that comes to mind when I say, like, a challenging thing? Like, just kind of been like, there you go, Zach.
Oh, man, like, so, like, I don't know how deep you go, like...
Oh, you can go as deep as you want, dude. It's your show. Your episode.
When I was... I finished my second year of university.
Yeah.
Like, I passed everything, but I knew that, like, I was just like, yeah, this is not it. Like, I wanted, like... I'm just not feeling it, right?
Yeah.
So I was like kind of deciding to go to kind of making the switch over to college. That summer, like basically between like me leaving university, like finishing exams, and then like jumping into college at Cameron. So my mom had been dealing with depression for, looking back on it, probably a really, really long time.
Yeah.
But like at the time, it was 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Like, so my mom was like, she was a school teacher, and then she eventually became like a principal, which is a fairly like, it's a high stress job, and she was like at like basically like an end of town that was a very rough area, like just a lot of issues where, you know, you've got a lot of people that are struggling themselves, where it was just, she took on a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
So I got home one night, my mom had been kind of, you know, basically like severely depressed and like out of work, where she was like actually like, for the first time in my life, like my mom didn't go to work, you know what I mean? Like she had never even taken a sick day.
Yeah.
First fact, like 3 months she's been off on like sick leave essentially, right? I get home one day, I get a call from my dad, and he's like, hey, I'm just trying to get a hold of your mom, like, do you want to just like see where she's at and shit, right? I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. So I like go down and basically try to like look for her phone or like see if there's anyone home, because I like literally just pulled up, right? Get inside, I like, where my parents' room was like, you'd walk into my house, there's like a hallway to the right and then a staircase to the basement. As soon as you got down the staircase to the right is like my parents' room. So I like run downstairs, I like open the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm still on the phone with my dad. I'm like, no, like, she's not here. Like, I don't know what to tell you. He's just like, okay, well, just like, can you see if you just like, if she left a note, or like, because she was supposed to go to like some friend's place for like a fucking Zumba class or some shit, right? Like it was like some random shit.
Yeah.
Like apparently she really did not want to go to this Zumba class.
No.
So I walk into my mom's room, and then like when I turn the corner, like my mom had committed suicide, so she was hanging like from her bedroom ceiling. So obviously, like I'm 20 or 21 at the time. Like, and like I had a very sheltered life as a kid, like in the sense where like I had family members that had been going through struggles, but my parents always kind of kept me and my brother out of it, right? Like where it was like there was just like something wrong, but we never addressed it. Like I didn't know what like mental health was. I didn't know what depression was until I saw like my mom getting sick, and then I definitely didn't know what the fuck suicide was until I walked in and my mom was hanging from her ceiling, right? So like that's a huge experience, like especially like I said, being a very sheltered kid where like I didn't drink for the first time until I was like probably like 16 or 17, because I like managed to like sneak out, maybe maybe 16, let's say, right? Like I was an older kid, like I was like let's say like a late bloomer when it came to like life experiences, right? But then it was like I got punched in the face, right away, right? Like right away, right? So it was a big shock.
That's a big punch in the face, man.
Yeah, so like, you know, not exactly the like I said, she just really didn't want to go to a Zumba class, but who can blame her? But yeah, like it was like, again, like I said, like a really like I was sheltered, so I knew there was something up. I knew there was something like wrong with my mom, where I was like, oh, she's not feeling good. But like even like 8 years ago, mental health wasn't like something people talked about like it is now. Right?
No, it's
like
a lot more at the forefront of what we do.
It's a lot more prominent now because a lot more people are suffering from it.
Yeah.
But like at the time when it happened, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like to me, it was like suicide was something crazy people did. My mom wasn't crazy, right? Like that's how I felt at the time. Was like, oh, like what the fuck is going on, right?
Yeah,
so like
tough to
my whole
process.
whole world just got shattered essentially, because like everything I thought I understood was like gone. Right now, as you would expect when somebody that close to you kind of passes away.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my family reacted in very different ways. And there was a point where like I really had to like distance myself from certain people for my own well-being, where it was just not necessarily like just for my own mental. It was like I was dealing with shit, again, not necessarily in a good way, but the way I dealt with shit was like I kind of just like I got really into my work. I got really into just like training, working out, because it was like essentially it was like I could work out, or I could go get hammered or do a shit ton of drugs or like do anything to try to like forget,
get out of it,
just
be
away,
present.
right? So it was like I chose exercise. I, you know, for years I still do. Like I wreck my body on a regular basis, right? A part of that is like I've gotten better at it, but like a lot of it is like, you know, it was a way to escape. It was a way. It was like it was total escapism, where it was just like I don't want to fucking have to deal with this shit. So if I'm at the gym with my buddy till fucking 1 o'clock in the morning because we're doing fucking chest presses, like, you know what I mean, I'll take it, right? But then, like, over time, it's like when you go through that type of shit, and like I said, like, my whole world got shattered, I had to distance myself from a lot of people that I was originally close with, just because I didn't like the way they were coping with shit, and I had to cope with shit in my own way.
Yeah.
So I basically went from being, like, a super sheltered kid to, like, I'm on my own.
Yeah, and exposed
Moved
to
out,
a lot. Yeah.
moved out, I'm gone. Working on my own, trying to pay bills by myself. Like,
nice.
And, like, 20 is not, like, you're not young, but, like, I'm also not, like, I was not nearly as mature as I am now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had some shit I had not figured out yet, right?
Down.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So, like, I fucked up a lot.
It's not young, but it's not old enough to be, like, old enough where you could be making those. You're not already doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, hey, you have this choice now.
I stepped into it because it was
you stepped into it because you had to.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Shit. So, like, for me, one of the things, and again, like, I use movement as a way to train for that, or like as like a metaphor for a lot of like the stuff that happens in life, because it was like, it's the same processes. Eventually, once you break it down, like, how did you, how you move on and kind of cope, not necessarily cope, but like how do, because I don't like the word cope, because to me, like, cope is just like, I'm dealing with it.
Yeah,
to me, it's like, how do I excel from it? Right.
I like that.
It's a horrible, it's a horrible thing that happens,
but it's a mind shift. Like, it's a mindset.
And like, everyone who is like in their, and like I use successful as like what is successful to that person. Anyone who accomplishes their vision of what they deem as being successful, nobody just does it. There has to be some kind of trigger, right? There's something that makes that person go, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it, right? Some people, it's like, and it's not like one trauma is better or worse. It's just like everyone has to go through what their personal trauma would be, or their personal like that. Like
everybody needs a family member to die.
But like some people need to go broke. Some people need, for some people, like I know a lot of like, or I know some people that like they have a kid and it just like just totally switches their mentality where they're like, I'm gonna really like go for it now because like I want to be the best.
Awesome,
right? Which is dope. Like that's everyone has their thing. For me personally, that was like the thing where I was like, damn, I gotta figure this out, right? Yeah. But also, it was the thing that I used as motivation to be like, well, I gotta get better, because like I don't want this to happen. A lot of it was fear. It was like, shit, like if I have, and then like, because now I'm 20 years old, it's like my world gets blown open. Now I'm like, oh shit, there's a lot of people in my family that suffer from like mental health, or that suffer from,
you're now more aware of it.
But now it's like you look past that and it's like, oh, there's a lot of people in general that are suffering from this, and then I start to recognize it in friends, family, clients, where I'm like, oh man, like, there's a lot more people that are struggling, not to that extent,
right?
But where it's just like there's some real, like, everyone kind of has their own things that they have to go through and have to overcome. So for me, it was like the way that I could kind of like overcome it and kind of get to that point was, I got to get better, and I gotta reach these goals that I have for myself, so that I never feel like I'm inadequate, or that I don't deserve to be here, or that I am a burden on the people around me, because that was how my mom felt, right? So a lot of it was like fear driven, where it was like, there's no fucking way I'm ever going to do that to the people I care about,
right?
So like I better make sure I don't put myself in a position where I'm unhappy and miserable like that, right? So that was like a huge factor and a huge thing for me to like push through a lot of the shit. And how do you learn how to push through shit? For me, it was by pushing through shit physically, right? Like it literally was. Like, it legitimately was. It was like, how do you break plateaus? How do you move on? Like, how do you like stay focused on a goal? Like, all of that is things that you learn and that are taught to you through sport, through activity, through movement.
100%,
it's 100% applicable in real life. The method might be different, the tools might be different, but the mentality is the exact same, or the process is the exact same, right? So that's why like a lot of the shit that I try to go through, or like that I try to reach now, is just like I try not to stress too much about it. Like, yes, there's stress where like you want to achieve goals, but it's like it can't be it. How many times is that something going to be that much worse than what I've already been through, that I've already overcame?
Chances are.
And it's like, and if it does,
different.
and if it does, and if it might be different, and if it does happen, I feel much better prepared now.
100%.
And I'm confident that horrible things might happen in my life.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't. Horrible things might happen to the people that like I'm close to and that I love and care about. But hopefully I have something that I can offer them, or offer myself, that I can grow from it and keep moving forward. Because again, it's not about like, to me, it's like I don't want to cope with shit. I want to excel from it. I want to use that as a way, and maybe the way that you excel completely shifts, right? Like maybe something happens and you're like total 180, like I'm going in this direction with my life now. But as long as you can excel, and that is what brings you joy and happiness at that point in your life, or that stage in your life, then like that's always better than falling back into this like self-misery and self-pity, and then like
it's kind of lazy.
Yeah,
it's a lazy response.
It really is, but you see it a lot, and
all the time,
with people, and it could be with like little things, or it could be with big things, right? Like how many people do you know that just blame the world for all their problems?
How long do we have?
But it happens all the time, right?
Every day.
Yeah,
all the time.
And it's like the world might be responsible for the problem that happened, but it's not responsible for you getting better from it.
No, and I think to that. One of my mentors way back when we were getting off the plane after a 2-week service trip in the Amazon rainforest of Ecuador.
Damn.
And it was cool, but yeah, man, it wasn't bad. But we're leaving, and she pulls me aside. She goes, "Glenn," I was like, "Yes." She goes, "You can never control. The only thing you can truly control is how you react to things that happen."
Yeah.
That happen around you. Some along those lines, where it's like whatever, you can never really control what happens to you, but you can always, like, you can only really truly control your own behavior, right? Whether that be like how we're acting now, or how we're acting before or after, how like you interact with your family, or how I interact with mine, family, friends, whatever, right? And I think that's an interesting way that you react to things like that. And I'm sure you apply that to not just tragedies, like big things, but I'm sure you do it to little things. You're like, lost that client. Well, let's achieve these goals faster. Right? Like you switch a bit.
And don't worry, like you've got to remind yourself all the time too. Yeah. It's not like it's something where like it's just like innate, where I'm like, I can deal with anything now. It's like, no, like, I fuck up all the time. Like all the time.
100%, do like 100 times a day.
All the
minimum.
Time. But at least it's like there's some level of ownership where you have to be like, okay, I fucked up, or this shitty thing happened, but it's like, how can I kind of like not just recover from this, but then like grow from it? And it's not always about just like looking at the bright side. Like that's an element of it, of like you gotta stay positive, and it's like sometimes you gotta look at the negative and realize what the fuck you did that made it so bad in the first place. Because if you're always just looking at the positive, it's like you're potentially ignoring what is causing this in the first place. Yeah. Because you can't always control what happens to you in life, but some things you can. And sometimes people walk into shit because of the choices that they make repeatedly, where they just like walk into these shitty circumstances, and then it's like, man, my life sucked. And it's like, well, you made fucking like 3 years of bad decisions that led to this. Yeah,
it's all you that won't. It's more often than not with the like depressed people in movies and stuff, and then around, it's like they have this chip on their shoulder that like life. Oh, I've lost but I've removed friends from my life who that is their attitude. Yeah. Like they have this sense of invincibility, but a chip on their shoulder that the world owes them something because they were dealt a shitty hand or something like that. It's like, well, how do you explain this or how do you explain that? It's like, well, this happened because you did this. Yeah. You chose to do that. You knew better. You did this. You did that. Oh, I feel like crap for it. I'm like, yeah, but you'll do the same thing in 2 years. So.
And like, unfortunately, man, it sucks because like one of the best ways that you can help people like that is by actually stepping away, because then at least hopefully, because like we said earlier, like if someone's asking you for advice and they only see you as like their friend or their family member, they're not necessarily listening to your advice. They just want to bitch, right? Right. Which is fine. But then like if you're trying to do shit, and if you're trying to move on with your life and you feel like you're constantly having to like, not necessarily that you're being dragged down by other people, but if you feel like I'm trying to reach my goals or I'm trying to do this shit and you're constantly just complaining about your own thing, like sometimes you kind of have to step away, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you drop that person forever, but sometimes you kind of have to distance yourself, and then that person needs to come to the realization that like they want to change shit on their own, because you can't do it for them, right? Like you said, like if someone's gonna bitch and complain about the decision they made over and over and over again, telling them that they made a bad choice is not gonna make them like, holy shit, you're right. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. 100%. It's not like it automatically, like, you say it to them and they're like,
there's no light bulb that goes off.
I shouldn't be fucking those hookers. Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, they knew they shouldn't have. Like,
I was married too.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if I wasn't married, I shouldn't have got married. Yeah. That's not the problem. Like, oh man.
And so you saying it is not necessarily, but like, you need to, sometimes you need to step away, because I found like, if you try to help them almost too much, it becomes where you're enabling the behavior, right? Where like they know that they can fuck up or they can make a mistake,
because you'll coddle them a bit,
and you'll be like, "Oh man, it's okay," or "Oh, it's all right, girl. Like you got this. You can get back." And sometimes it's okay to just be like, "You know what? You don't have your shit together right now. I need some space and I need to like distance." And you don't necessarily have to have that like you know,
like
a strict conversation.
Yeah.
It could just be like, yo, you know what, like, you're gonna have to deal with this on your own.
Yeah,
and then like hopefully they would get to a point where, you know, a rock, like we'll say like a rock bottom for them would be not nearly as severe, and they'd be able to realize on their own that like, oh fuck, like if these people aren't going to help me and all these people are not sitting here listening to me complain about my same bullshit, maybe I should do something. But nobody can realize it for them. They have to do it on their own, right? Which sucks, because it's hard when you like see people that you care about like
struggling. You've been friends with them forever, and you're like, oh, I don't want you to struggle.
Yeah, and you just want to smack them because you're like, wake the fuck up, man!
Open your eyes. God damn it.
But like sometimes you have to.
A lot.
It sucks, but like,
it's bad. But there's it's also from their perspective too, and like kind of pulling off of what like my example of that happened was, you're trying, like you said, except from their point of view, you're trying to say like, so we're friends, we're hanging out, right? And you're always trying to achieve shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going through stuff. There's always that chip on your shoulder. I'm that person I just described, right? Except from my point of view, I'm looking at him like, fuck, he's always energetic. Mm-hmm. He's always confident. He always feels good. He's always doing cool shit. He's always trying different things. He's messed up. Like, I've seen you mess up so many times, and you're happier now than you were before that. How? I always feel like crap though. How does that? Yeah. Oh man, I don't want to be around him. I feel worse when I'm around you. And then, because
I feel like shit about myself now.
Yeah.
You're doing all these cool things.
Right? So that's that example where it's kind of like you almost have to both be like, hey, kick rocks, but they're also in the same way being like, my buddy used the perfect term. He's like, people get intimidated. People get intimidated by success. It's the whole like star-struck thing. Like they get intimidated. They're taken out of their element. And you're like, yo, we're all just people breathing, dude. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. And I'm thankful about that. Like just with some people I've had on the show and stuff, and the people I've met in my life, it's very, very, in a bad way. I was talking with my business partner about this week, where he's like, he was telling him how one guy, I told him a really cool Eric Carlson story. How I didn't meet him, but it was just a cool like experience we had, and it was just like at a traffic light, and he pulls up, he says, "What's up?" and then he bails off in his Lambo, and I didn't know who it was until after the fact, and then we were still like, but Buddy was tripping out that he just heard that story. He's like, "Man, that's so cool." He's so, this one time, and I'm like, I don't know, I saw the 9 bobbleheads on your desk. I want to tell you the story, but him and my point where he was like, I don't care. I don't understand this like celebrity aura thing that. I'm like, people get intimidated by success, especially when they don't have it, or more often than not sure what they're working towards.
And that's the big one, I think. Because I think like a lot of people, like, again, like success is like, that's a very relative term. It's like, what do you consider
specific, like you said earlier,
like, so I think it's, a lot of times it's easy to look at like celebrities with like, oh, they've got this money, they got all this shit. And then it's like, I think that's why people love when celebrities come out with like, real bad shit. That's why people love celebrity gossip, because it's like, oh, this person's fucked up just like I am.
Yeah, that's
and it's like,
true.
If you don't necessarily know what you value, or if you don't necessarily know what you're really trying to like reach, and again, like, I'm not saying I don't do this either. Like, there are people that I get jealous of, or people that I catch myself hating on. It's a natural thing. Because it's like, oh, fuck that guy. And then I'm like, oh, but he's actually just doing what I want to be doing. So, like, I can't really hate on him. Well, like, these celebrities are like these, like, fucking movie stars or whatever, and it's like, people get so, like, wrapped up in their lives, but then they love when they fail. They love when they fall, and it's like, oh, Britney went crazy. She shaved her head. And it's like, you don't want to be a pop star. Like, what do you...
why are you celebrating that?
Why are you celebrating? But, like, why did you worship her in the first place? Like...
yeah.
Like...
That's a good point.
You know, and, like, now all this, like, there's, like, this, like, free Britney shit, and I'm like, yo, you guys haven't talked about Britney in years. And now all of a sudden she's going through some shit, or there's, like, it's in the media, and now people are just, like, everyone's like, we got a free Britney. And it's like, that's great. But, like... The only reason, or part of the reason she's in that position is because, like, people put her up on this pedestal.
Yeah.
In the first place. Yeah. Like, if she was just another regular chick, people know people in their personal lives that need that kind of help, not necessarily in the same circumstance, but but then they see a celebrity go through like a depression, or they see a celebrity go crazy or lose their shit, and they're like, we need to help her. I'm like, yo, your family members are literally like going through
if not worse,
but it's like, because you had this like jealousy, or you perceive this person as like being on this pedestal, it's like, it's not as interesting to try to help your family member who's just like a regular Joe Blow. But like, again, what's your definition of like what is successful? Like, is it being a pop star? Because if being a pop star is like, if that's your thing, then like, why aren't you working towards it?
Yeah.
How come? Where's your mixtape, bro?
Yeah,
like,
why are you spending
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like,
where's your
like,
mixtape, bro?
Like, I don't see you at the bars, like, hustling people, like, yo, play my track. Like,
yo, buy my hoodie.
But if you're not that interested in being a pop star, being some, like, famous, like, musician or, like, celebrity, like, actor, it's like, then why do you care? But it's like on the surface, it looks like they have what you want, but it's because you don't really know what you want, right?
No, but I think it boils down. I think it's attention. I think there's some form of that, which is why when you say you're not a social media guy, I'm like,
that's why I get jealous of Jack
really
dudes on social media, man. I see these Jack guys on social media, I'm like, man, fuck that guy. And then I'm like,
that guy, he's got small legs.
Yeah, like exactly. It's always just like,
but
look, I could flip.
Yeah, I can flip. I can choke him out.
But it's like, why do I care? If he wanted to get big, he wanted to get jacked, like, good for him. He's hitting his goals. He's doing his thing. Like, I have to catch myself and kind of check myself and be like, why am I jealous of this dude? He's doing exactly what he wants. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. Like, I have to stop comparing to, like, where he's at in his journey, whereas, like, I am, because they're different.
Right,
like,
and it's a natural thing.
100%. Totally natural.
Compare, so as long as, like you said, you're like, you have to check yourself. Yeah. But that's when ego comes in, and then it's like, no, I'm better. I don't even check myself. I know everything.
Yeah.
All right, well, you haven't failed enough, or you haven't owned up to a lot of things, right? You haven't really learned from that. But switching gears a bit, why you've gone... Explain to me what 5 Cent City is. So you did a speech, right?
Yeah.
I was intrigued, but I couldn't quite figure it out.
So 5 Cent City is like what we talk about. Like, I guess it's funny because we just talked about putting people on a pedestal, and like, if there's one person I can say that I have up on a pedestal, it is the organizer and creator of 5 Cent City. So I met Christian through a buddy of mine, Jordan Kilgannon, which I'm sure you met the one night.
We met that one night, yeah.
So Jordan has been a really good friend of mine for a long time, and again, another person that I really look up to in a lot of ways, but not in a sense of like, I don't idolize Jordan. I idolize a lot of the things that he does, and I really look up to a lot of the things that he does with his life and the way that he chooses to live his life.
Seems a pretty cool dude.
He's a very, very down-to-earth guy, very chill guy, right? But also just a sweetheart. So 5 Cent City, the first time they got like basically put together, like Jordan knew Christian because Jordan's dad used to actually train Christian way back in the day.
Nice.
So that was kind of like the connection that I had. So I was going to chill with Jordan one night. He was like, "Yeah, I'm just getting like, I'm getting a treatment done from my buddy Christian." And like my initial response was like, "This motherfucker." I was like, "He knows what I do for a living. How come he's not asking me for help?" So immediately I was like, yo, fuck this Christian guy, right? Yeah. And then like we walk in the middle of the session, and I'm like listening in, kind of like from like kind of like the side eye, and I'm like, the fuck is this guy doing?
That's false.
That's what I wanted to do. And then this guy's going off, and I'm
actually,
like, damn, this guy's smart as fuck. Like, you know, what I mean? But then I started talking to him, and he's like genuinely the most like caring and giving person I've ever met.
Nice.
Like Christian is, and like Jordan is like that a lot too. He's a very caring, very giving person. This was just like a different level of human though, man. Like I really can't explain it. Like, man. And it was just, and there was also the element of like, this is the field that I work in. I work in movement. I work in like helping people. He was just so much better at it, and he still is so much better at it than I am. Jeez. I couldn't help but be like, man, like, what makes you tick? Like, what are you doing that's so different? But it was like, it was so good. And I've worked with a lot of really, really good people, and like worked with a lot of really great therapists and trainers. The way that he approached things and the way that he would like, the attention and care that he would give to a client was just like anything I had ever seen and I have ever up until that point. So when I met them that day, he ended up telling me, he's like, hey, I'm doing this event. Like, I'm originally from Sivret. I live in Toronto now, but I want to come back and I want to do an event because, you know, a lot of, like, the overdoses that are going on downtown, a lot of the mental health stuff. So it kind of started off as, like, basically it was just, like, this guy I met who, like, happens to be this really chill, really nice, and, like, really smart guy that I was kind of like, yo, I want to work with this guy. Like, this guy's really fucking cool. Like, turns out he's running this event. And at first, like, I was like, oh, I'll help out. Yeah. But, like, you know, it was, like, showed up, like, passed some t-shirts around. Like, I think I helped Jordan make some bracelets for the event because we were just chilling one night, you know, like, but like my involvement was fairly
like you were there,
limited. I showed up and I was like, oh, if you guys want help setting stuff up, like I'll show up and like we'll set some bleachers
support
up.
The show. Nice.
But I was supportive, but I wasn't like a part of it.
I get it.
You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, this is cool, really nice dude. My buddy's involved heavily. Like Jordan ended up doing. I don't want to get like, I don't want to say the wrong shit, but he ended up doing a lot for that event that like a lot of people don't know he did.
Oh, cool.
Kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah, we'll let that. Be with him.
Yeah, so like, again, I don't want to get it wrong, and I don't want to say
100%.
But like, he was a big part of helping it kind of get together, and And then, so the year after when they started talking about like doing it again, and by this point, like now my relationship with Christian had also kind of like improved a bit, and I had spent more time with him, more conversation with him, and it's just like the more time I spent with him, the more intrigued I would get, and the more I wanted to help him, right? And the more I wanted to be a part of whatever it is that he was doing, because I truly believed that like in him as a person.
Oh, that's the best. That's
not
the
like
best, dude.
The vision was an amazing vision, and like obviously with the shit that happened with my mom, like mental health and all that.
Yeah, like,
obviously,
hey, man.
a huge thing that I can relate to, right? It was a big thing. But working with him, I was like, no, you're the guy who's going to actually make a difference. It's like not all these, like, not necessarily to bash these other things, but it's like, I've been to a lot of other events for like mental health, but none of them hit and none of them had the impact that this one did. And I think the big reason why is because of him, right? Because of the level of care and attention, and because just the way that, and because of his skill set, I really did believe that he was the person who could make the biggest difference. Biggest difference, not only difference, but out of everyone in every event, I was like, this is the one that if I can give my time to any one event, this is it, right?
That's amazing.
So for the second year that we had it going, he basically asked me to do like a little video / interview, and then he wanted to just like he wanted me to speak because he throughout the year he had found out about the shit that I went through with my mom and everything.
Nice.
So that's how I basically became like involved with 5 Cent City, and then the second year that we had it, I was way more heavily involved. Where like you know, we were recording shit. We were more involved with the actual like setting up of everything and like the actual event itself. So the way it has been over the first 2 years that we did it was there was like a basketball tournament. Yeah. Again, to kind of really stick with like the people that we're trying to reach are a lot of times like these people are not people that have the resources all the time to just be able to like call up a therapist or call up an appointment. Like they might not have the financial resources, they might not even like know where to go. So the idea with 5 Cent City was like we have all these people that need help, and we have like, and again like this is 100% Christian, this is, you know, I'm speaking like I'm gonna try to speak for him as closely as I can, but the idea was like, let's bring the help to them as opposed to sitting around and waiting
for them to get the help.
Where it's like, well, how come you're not reaching out? How come you're not doing this? It was like, let's go to you. So all you got to do is you just have to be walking by Elm Street, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then you hear like, oh, there's some basketball games going on. Oh, Jordan Kagan is doing a fucking dunk show. Oh, I know that guy. He's on Instagram. He's a super cool dude, right? Like, but then you show up and then like someone's talking about like how they overcame addiction, or someone's talking about how they lost loved ones to mental health or to suicide or to drugs, and sometimes it's just stories about people that just really struggled internally with whatever other problems they had. And then the idea was like through that and through being able to have this like open dialogue with 5 Cent City, people could relate with like any one of the speakers or any one of the stories and be like, damn, like I'm going through something similar to like that. And then leaving it open where I can now go like that guy who just had this conversation and just had this like inspirational talk to that particular person because it's something that they can relate to. They can just go talk to him after. Jeez. So it wasn't like going to this seminar where it's like, oh, I'm looking at like Tony Robbins who's going to tell me to like love myself and that like, you know, whatever the fuck he says. And then it's like he goes backstage and he's probably fucking bitches and do whatever. Like, you know, and it's just like he's doing his thing. Like, who knows what they're really doing? I don't know.
But not what you said that you guys were pulling off.
It was different because it was like we could have that talk or have this like moment where somebody is like opening themselves up and talking about some of the things that are typically way more like you don't speak about. You're not supposed to talk about.
And you can open that.
And then it was like like they would finish their speech and you could have like 10 strangers walk up and be like, yo, like I'm actually going through that, like thanks for sharing, like how did you do this, like where did you go for this help, like it opens the conversation as opposed to just being like, yo, come get help, like how come you're not getting help, right? Because again, a lot of the people that are struggling either don't want to say anything because they don't want to admit that they're struggling, or they just genuinely have no fucking idea where to go
don't know how to open up or how to. And then like I love that concept, and I think that's cool that you guys were able to pull off something where, okay, we speak about an experience and then somebody who can relate now feels connected to you, whether that's subconsciously or consciously, and then they're like, man, I'm drawn to this person, then I'll go up, talk to them, and hey man, if it keeps blood in the good people, that's it.
And that was really the idea. And like now, so like we're actually able to bring it back this year now because of all the restrictions are lifting up a little bit and shit, but we're going to basically have our third one, and we have to make it differently. First 2 years we had like a basketball tournament, where that was like kind of like the big draw was like, hey, you showed up for the basketball tournament, but then you also got all these other cool speakers and events to kind of do. Now it's going to be 3 hours, 7 to 10 on August 28th, which is the last Saturday of August, and way more compressed format. So it'll basically be like presentation, presentation. So it'll be, you know, a little bit more streamlined, but also I think it'll be a little bit easier to digest for a lot of people also.
So, yeah,
so again, like,
bite size.
Typically the longer format was what Christian really enjoyed, because that was, you know, he felt he could get to people that way and get more people to come in.
Right.
Whereas
like
now with these restrictions, again, like just kind of overcoming shit is like, okay, well, how can we work with these restrictions, but offer something that maybe is not exactly the same, but can impact people in just as much of a productive way, right? So that's where he came up with the format for this year, which will be a much shorter event.
Nice.
But way more compact and way more intense in a smaller window.
Yeah, right on. I think that'll be fascinating, man. You have to check it out for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a completely community driven event, right? So everybody that's involved in this is like, we're all doing it just because like everyone has some kind of story where they just want to help, and it's just like it is run by the community for the community. Nobody's making money off of this.
Right.
Like, we're putting our own money into it, if anything. You know what I mean? Like, if t-shirts are getting made, it's because somebody went out and bought t-shirts and printed all these t-shirts. If bracelets are being made, like, somebody went out, bought the material, made bracelets, and handed them out. Like, that's what the event is about.
They're sponsoring the event and stuff. Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool, man. So, as you kind of go towards the end of this, what is one last piece of advice or a tip or lesson you kind of, a message you want to embark?
Man, I think the biggest thing that is like for anyone going through like we'll say like a fitness journey, or even just their life journey, which is kind of cheesy to say, but like if you're going through anything, like I think the biggest thing is like you're going to fail, you're going to fuck up, and it's okay. You just can't stop trying. Right. You can't keep doing the same thing expecting that it's going to give you the result that you're looking for. So it's okay to switch. It's okay to switch shit up. Like, it's okay to switch up your friend group. It's okay to switch up the people that you take inspiration from. It's okay to switch up what you're doing. Those things are okay. And it's okay to feel like you're failing at something. You just got to kind of keep going, because at the end of the day, like, the people that really, like, when we talked about like success and like reaching that success, the people that hit that, what their version of success are, it's never like an easy road. It's never. It's different for every single person. You just got to like accept that like the struggle you're going through is like, that's what you have to overcome to hit what your version of success is. It's your problems, but it's your outcome that you're going to end up eventually kind of reaching. And it might be different from what you originally set out, but that's just part of going through the process. Sometimes things will be smoother, sometimes they won't, but like you just can't give up on the end goal, right? Right. Whatever that goal happens to be.
Right on. So, Zach, where can people get a hold of you? Where can people find you?
Not on social media.
Right on. Where can people find the business, let's say?
So you can find lvxfitnessstudio.ca or junglegymgymnastics.com. Working on basically getting the two websites to be linked together pretty soon, so you could just basically have one or the other. I do have Instagram for LVX Fitness Studio as well as Jungle Gym Gymnastics. So you could look up either of those. Those are not necessarily like, I don't have personal accounts on any of these, like for Facebook or for Instagram. I do look at them, so if people are sending a message and wanted to get a hold of me personally,
you can read it.
They can reach me through there. It's just you're not necessarily going to be reaching me on like a personal account anytime because I just don't have them. But you can find some little flakes of me scattered.
Right on, brother. Right on. Well, I really am super grateful to have heard your story today. Super grateful for us training together in the past, and I look forward to hanging out with you more. And thanks for coming on the show, dude.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Really appreciate it, brother. Right on. Thanks, guys.